second guessing myself. Right. So this is another issue which, again, it's one of the chronic issues I have as a trader. Every single one of you will have one or two chronic issues that you will battle with personally until the day you die, really. And this is from someone that I've been trading for 20 years and I still have the same freaking issues. So, and that is second guessing myself. So one thing I've realized over the years is that my first take on a chart is normally the correct take. So if I'm looking at a chart with fresh eyes, whatever, and I go, this is definitely a blah, blah, blah. That is normally what actually ends up happening. Where I consistently, routinely screw myself over is I second guess myself, because I'm looking at the charts all day, every day, and I'm constantly asking myself, what's the alternate to this? Am I wrong? Blah, 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 blah. And it's that little bloody chimp in my head that ends up screwing myself over. It's not a self-confidence issue. I'm very confident, but I guess it's when you're debating let's say a seesaw, whether is the chart going to go up or is it going to go down. It's a mental seesaw. That seesaw can wobble up and down hundreds of times over the space of a week, let's say, and then you end up just more confused than when you started. So, and I've read enough neurology books in my time to understand why I believe my first take is normally the correct take. And this is because you basically, I'm going to put hardcore neurology, idioted down to Siam understanding, because this is how I understood it. But basically you have a brain. So I'm trying to draw on paper here. So you have your brain, right? So let's say this whole thing is your brain. And you have this, let's say your memory bank is over here. And this is a big hole, okay? So this is how I've sort of visualized my little understanding of these neurology books that I read years ago. And this is long-term memory bank. Now, apparently humans have perfect memory. So everything from every smell that you've ever smelt in your life, all the words and sounds you heard in the womb as a fetus, everything is in your long-term memory bank. The thing that we really lack is this fishing rod. So our memory recall is deficient. So we have perfect memory as human beings, but we have very poor memory recall. So you have some eidetic people out there that have perfect recall, and that's very few. That's all the savants that you see, or not all of them, but there's some savants that have perfect memory recall. But obviously there's side effects to that. Most of them are highly autistic or have like debilitating Asperger's, let's say. But here's the thing, like we all talk about the lizard brain or your chimp brain, etc. What it turns out is that your chimp brain, your what we call the subconscious, seems to have like a direct link between your long-term memory bank and your subconscious, or your chimp, or your lizard brain, whatever you want to call it. And in our subconscious we have lots of pattern recognition going on over here, and that pattern recognition happens whether you know it or not. So if, let's say, you're young and you've been beaten up after a night out because you walked down a dark alley on your own, you're going to remember that. In fact, that will be in your present memory bank, really. And your basic pattern recognition will be, if I'm drunk and I have to walk home late at night, walking down dark alleyways is probably not a good idea. Or walking down this part of Norwich is really not a good idea at a certain time of the day. Like, it's not you being, it's just pattern recognition. So your subconscious memorizes like basically everything you see, hear, smell, or do. And here's the tenuous link with trading. after a while, once you've looked at charts for, I don't know, 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours, or whatever, I'm pretty sure there's a certain amount of hours where you have seen, as in your eyes, have seen every freaking pattern there is that charts can throw at you. And so I'm convinced that, you know, if you spend probably, I don't know what it is in hours, but I think once you've spent probably 3 to 5 years of just staring at charts, I'm pretty sure your subconscious or your gut, whatever you want to call it, is pretty well trained with market patterns, because there's only so many patterns that you can see. And therefore, I believe the reason why my first take on a new chart, or when I'm doing fresh analysis, is correct, is because I'm looking at that and my subconscious is just aware of all the different chart patterns there and go, oh, I've seen this, you know, 10 million times, and therefore most of the time it plays out like blah. And that is why I think that works. And this is not just for trading; it's the same with other bits and bobs. So yeah. Next, so what was I talking about? I was talking about second guessing myself. So yeah, I just I have to make a mental note that whatever my first fresh take on something is I need to stick with it. And the easy way to do that is just go in the higher time frames. So part of me is thinking maybe I should jump in. I should perhaps spend a bit more time on the daily and the 3-day chart, perhaps, maybe, or just letting things play out a bit. Because there's a few moves recently where my first take has been correct, and I've then actively ignored what I said would happen, and then just yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's that.